said, so don't you want the keys to the house? And I said, oh yeah, I guess I do. So he handed me the keys to the house. And so this house is still locked up and open with this key after all these years. So I always think it's amazing when I come here. I always love it, Mr. Brown. And we found keys in all kinds. Did you bring your cat?
No, I did not. I didn't even tell them about it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
When I was redoing the wall, what Vickie's alluding to, I had to take it all down.
Sideways to the
trees had moved it apart, but all those stones are the ones that were brought up here. I didn't redo the stones. So that's the hard part, is just bringing the stones up. So I didn't have to do that. But when I was getting right to the end of the line and getting ready to put my addition on to hide the electric, I lifted a stone up, and as soon as I lifted it up, it was about this big a stone, and I picked it up, and underneath it was the key to the cabin.
Oh, wow.
It looks just like that. But when I got to thinking about it, people are kind of the same, and you can't walk around with, I don't even like having the keys in my pocket. And you're always poking yourself, and they're bulgy. And then if you're out in the woods getting dinner and you lose it, what are you going to do then? So you'd obviously just hide it under a rock. But anyway, I found it.
The other thing I'll point out is that, have you talked about their involvement with since this is all about the revolution and their involvement with the ladies of Mount Vernon?
No.
So when Mount Vernon was being restored, there's a story about how this lady was going down to Potomac in maybe around 1830 or so, and she sees this deplorable condition now that Washington's house is in. So she goes back and she tries to talk to friends into, putting together a group of ladies, and so they became the ladies of Mount Vernon, and it's still around. And one of the original, and they had someone representing in each state. And so in Kentucky, one of these are the papers of Mrs. Barrett, who was the representative from Kentucky, and so she was Knox Brown's sister, I believe, Knox Brown's senior sister. Oh. Isn't that right? And so Margaretta and Mary Yoder, all of them are very involved. But she was the representative, and so she has her minutes. She was head of the garden committee. She was also head of one of the relics committee. And in the garden committee, whenever she was doing her minutes, she would talk about how the next year she was going to tell the gardener they needed more potatoes, or they needed to move this or that at Mount Vernon. The other thing that Mount Vernon was known for is that George Washington was the first person to ever have mules in the United States. He became fascinated with mules, and so he took one of his horses and he talked to the King of England. He brought over one of his particular King of Spain. I'm sorry. Oh, I said England. I'm sorry. King of Spain. He brought they crossed them, and so they to produce mules for farms, and so he was the first to ever bring mules to the United States. The mules died out, and so Mrs. Barrett then started a campaign in early 1900 to replace the mules at Mount Vernon. She was able to replace those mules, and we think I've talked to the people at Mount Vernon, they think they may have come from here at Vaucluse, and probably were on the train here at Yoder. So anyway, they were very proud of these mules that they got from Kentucky to replace the mules that had died out. But if you get a chance, it was just interesting to find, it has like Mount Vernon on the Potomac, it has she's written her little committee notes, and she also, someone in the family had a relationship to the person that gave the family Bible for Mary Washington, who was Mary Ball Washington, who was George Washington's mother. There's about an 8 or 10 page document where they had copied the history of that Bible that was given and wanted to make sure it did not get lost. So anyway, it's really fun to kind of find little trinkets like that, and it's amazing how connected the family was, and in the early part of the country's history, particularly around Mount Vernon, they were very involved in the saving of Mount Vernon as well.
When they built this house, they built it to last. Yeah. The walls are 18-inch brick, and your cross walls are also brick, so that's not drywall or anything. That's solid brick. If you go there, if you go up the steps,
That's a fact.
there's not a creak in them. And they're as straight as they were when they were built.
And Stuart did a great job on the replastering.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is the original plaster. Stuart, our wood guy, he worked on restoring the plaster, so it's still got all the horsehair in it. And
Beautiful job.
come on in this room. This is the last room here on the first floor.